see. Right. Okay. So, yeah, Dante, my name is Tyrell Yellowbird. Um, Nipti ko pa ako tsinia. My name is Tyrell Yellowbird. I'm from Samson Cree Nation. I currently live in Wetaskiwin. Um, I have a blended family of five. I have two pets, and my parents' names are Opamoto Yellowbird, and my mother's name is Leanne Munoz. So I was approached last week to come and do kind of a little presentation on my experience in the class. So this is what I have prepared. So thank you, Manisha, for introducing me. So yes, I do have my Indigenous Social Work diploma, and I'm currently in the Indigenous Bachelor of Social Work, my third year. So a little background, I've done a lot of community service work. I've been introduced to the child family service sector. That's kind of where I've got my experience, my work experience, which led me to redirect to community wellness and educational development. I currently work for AMO Society, Esquimasta Sopikinawasawan Society, with the Louisville tribe. So they are not with the province, they are federal. So they are under Bill C-92, which has a lot of people talking right now. They're very ahead right now. Um, so learning AP and following along. In my first year, Manisha was very ahead of us at that time. Like she had so many great and helpful resources, especially in the Google Classroom. So she had a lot of examples, existing our previous student examples, um, some that she just created, and then she would attach step-by-step videos, which I loved. Um, I did a lot of Google searches, so just trying to see how it was formatted, the end result, how it should look. I did a lot of YouTube as well. I followed along to videos, um, just finding things that I could relate to. And then another thing that was helpful was cohort student services support. And what I really like about Manisha's class is that, and just Manisha, is that she had posted to one of the groups about alternative assignments. And I think that really helps me because I don't really, at the beginning of my journey, I wasn't very strong in writing, I felt like. So it really helped for me to talk about things and to present and just self-advocating, self-advocating for yourself, I think is a really good tool as well because which ties into while I speak on learning styles is if something isn't working, you'll know. And to be able to share that with your instructors as well, um, is going to help you. So when my first year, I learned about learning styles, and I had an instructor who put it in her outline to do a test, and then that way you would know, and then she wanted you to send it to her so she could know. And this really helped the classroom environment because we were able to do assignments based on kind of our learning style. So mine, when I did it, was the kinesthetic and then the visual. So I have to do things with my hands, hands-on. I have to actually do it to understand it and retain the information. And same with visual. So everything that I have listed here and that Manisha provides, it caters to my learning style, which really helps me retain information and to learn quickly. So yeah, like I really value all the material and resources that Manisha sends to MCC and posts everywhere. So thank you so much, Manisha. I'm going to highlight three areas. So I chose chapter summaries as my first one, and this is a example of one of the chapter summaries I've done in 2021. And I just think they're so, for me, they were fun. Just because I was able like at the time, it was fun because I got to just pull it in bullet point, right? So it was like, okay, well, I'd have my book and I'd highlight it as I go, so then I could go back, and then that way it was easier for me to put it down. Or else there was other times where I would just actually type it while I was doing it. So I had a few different approaches that I tried. But now that I look back, they're valid. I use them now in my work experience and my work. So though I just wanted to highlight the ways that I use it now. I use them in executive summaries and meeting minutes for documentation. So if I'm meeting with a client or meeting with somebody, this is how I document, what is the meeting about, what's the main purpose, and then what are the things that we spoke about. And then managers reports as well. If I go on a conference, if I attend a webinar, this is something that I would use it for. Another one is the research outlines. So this one as well were really, really fun because we could choose our topic. And I think it's just easier when you have the choice of the topic, because then you get to explore and it's your choice. You kind of have a little bit of control. And so that's why I liked this format and this assignment. And also building your argumentations or the way I approached it was my argumentations were going to be my paragraphs. So if I chose a topic and I was like, okay, well, as I'm going through my what is it called again? My sources. I would choose things. If I would if I'd go on a website and I'd be like, hey, this is very interesting. What did I learn from that? And then I would put that into format under my argumentations. And then I would change my thesis. I find it would go from this to this. And I'm like, well, wait, like, does that even tie into this? So it did change, but I felt like it was okay because it still was relevant to my topic. And then again, now where I use it is still in school in research papers. I use this in my presentations, for brochures for my job, posters, reports. And it just, for me, it makes it intentional and it makes it focused, on the topic that I'm trying to bring. And then my next one is presentations. So presentations were probably my most favorite just because of my learning style. So for me, I like nice things, I like pretty things. And so it was just a way for me to make it fun and appealing, where I always approached it like, okay, well, if I was sitting in on this, how would I want it to be? Or how would I want it to look, that way? And then it just it allowed you to be creative with your presentation and the information you wanted to give. And it also made it interactive. So speaking with your hands, just speaking in general. Um, and it just made the exploring more fun. It made it enjoyable, and which led to conversation because I would have an instructor come in, or instructor ask questions too, and then students, and it was really good because it would lead you into a different topic at the end of it. So that was really fun. And then I just feel like through conversation, you retain things, you retain information, and it just, even though you go into it, if it's your presentation, um, it leaves you with something else to explore or to be like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So I think those are my funnest. And then so I'll bring you to a couple that I did. So this was in my first year. Can you guys still see that? Okay. So this was in my first year of my family studies. Our topic was family violence. And we, at the time, this is where I'm like reviewing where my journey and my skills have changed. So at the time, my approach was going through the book and or the slides and highlighting the information that caught my eye. And then I would kind of build off of that. So back then, it was very wordy. If I had to review this now, like it's very wordy. But I went off of her rubric. You know, she wanted us to pick certain topics that she wanted to be in there. And so that's kind of what I went by. But as you can see, like I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just kind of showing you a visual of how I guess I have evolved. So but one thing I did love about this is that I used the books, I used the internet, and then I've used images because I'm like, well, there must be something that I don't know. And this is the one that I learned just on this. Like, so certain movements will have signs for help, they'll have colors, and they'll have a theme. And so I think that was really, really special in this presentation for me. And then you just learn things because if I'm like, okay, well, what is a secondary strategy? What is a form of secondary strategy for family violence? I'd Google it and I'd find examples. So, and that really helps too when you have to paraphrase, when you have to summarize, you know, making it simple enough for other people to understand as well. But yeah, it's like it's really wordy. Like there's a lot of information there, but important information, but I feel like I could have definitely dropped it down because that's 22 slides. And then that brings me to my second year, and I did this one. I did a visual community needs assessment in my Indigenous Social Work 206, which was community development. And so this one is way less words. It is only 8 slides. It is still more visual, but I chose housing department. So this is something that I was passionate about. This is something that I actually wanted to explore and where I thought I could make a change. And so yeah, so this one doesn't have as much words. It has some visual in there, but it caught I was able to speak on these topics a lot more than the last one. So I think that's just kind of where I've evolved and just being, I guess, more confident in um, the research that I want to do is choosing a topic that I could be passionate about or explore more. And with everything, I choose to, okay, to define it and let you know what it is, my views on it, or issues that I find, and then what they currently do, what services and supports they provide, and if there's any research of that they've done it or that it's worked, and what I feel like they need moving forward. So like solution based, you know, so yes, if I'm gonna complain about something, I want to be able to bring something to the table to say, okay, well, if this is my issue, maybe you guys could explore doing it this way or try this. You know, that's kind of how I approach um anything that I do. And then this is, I guess would be my second year, but I've done it in a work setting. So this is something that I presented on with MCC. And it's a mixture, but it's more purposeful. Like it's already um, a program, a federal program. And I really wanted to have it really detailed because people don't know about it. And I wanted to get as much information as I could, but I wanted to put it in a way that they could understand it. And just because it was going to be public and it was going to be posted places, I just wanted it to be good and to be structured. So these are some graphs from Indigenous Service Canada. So I wanted to include them in case, you know, people do look at them and they find them on the site that they'll recognize them.
We are still seeing your community assessment presentation.
Okay, let me see if I can change that. Okay, where do I? New share. Right here. Okay. So this is the one that I did for MCC. And so whatever I just said, this is the one that I was talking about. It's already structured, and I just wanted to bring as much information to the community as I could, and posting things like these that are actually on the Indigenous Service Canada website, um, and this as well. So I wanted to bring things that, that I'm doing in my community, what's already existing, and then things that you actually use, which would be the forms on there. Because so these look obviously very intimidating when you're on that site and know them. But I created things for our community that is not so scary. So the referral request form that I created was based on, looking at this to be like, okay, well, what's the main information that I need from this that I could put on this for um members that won't be as scary. I don't want to intimidate people and make them feel less than. I want to help them. And so I'm just trying, I had to create something that would take the information that I need that I could get from them. So then I could do all this paperwork for them. Sorry. And then, yeah, so sorry, just, yeah. Let me share. So stop that and go back to this. Okay, just a minute. Sorry, my dog is very upset right now. But so yeah, that was my point on presentations is, I like visual presentations. I like to have them creative because they're interactive, you can explore, and brings conversation, and then it allows you to retain the information. And I like to think that for me, research has come from my life experience and has blended into my work experience. So my life experience has been being a young single mother. I'm the oldest sibling. I come from a broken home, which has led me to be a part child. But I've always been culturally aware, on both sides. My family, my mother's side has been very ceremonial, and then my dad's side has been very religious. So I just had to make a choice to for myself and my family of where we wanted to go with our future. So I chose recreation. I wanted to recreate myself, so that I could build a future for my family. And which led me to go back to education. I chose to start right from the bottom. I had to go back for my diploma. Then I'm still in school. So my work experience has always been community service. I've worked in multiple areas, schools, reception, at the health center doing triage during COVID, MCC as well. I was triage there, and then I moved to admin. I've done a lot of admin work, and that's just by learning. My first job was a receptionist, so I kind of just took that and went with it, learned things along the way. I did my practicum with early years, and which led me to apply with the University of Alberta. I actually worked with a research group, in Musquechoose. They're still very active. They're an amazing group. They do the Elders Mentor Program, Healthy, Deadly Dads. They work with early years, MHS, and the different CFS agencies. So this is where it really sparked my interest of how to indigenize research, because when you think of research, I just think of surveys. I just think of like graphs and all that stuff that seems intimidating to be like, how do they do that? But this group showed me that it didn't have to be scary, and that we could be in control and that there's indigenous ways of doing it, crazy enough. Um, but yeah, I just have so much respect for them. And then I went into the child family service sector under admin. So I entered doing executive assistant. And then after that, I applied with another CFS agency under Bill C-92 for prevention work, where I am now the Journey's principal coordinator. So why I think this is important is because when we go into the Indigenous research methodologies, I learned about three different ones that we utilized in that research group. And um, um, yeah, so sorry. So I just think it's very important because in this group, they taught us that, we're the experts in our community. We are, and even though um, they use these methods, it was based off of the elders that were already in there from the start. And they chose to do these three because these three methods, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method, um, best suited our community and how we wanted to do the research and data that they were doing. And so the qualitative is human experience and behaviors with non-numerical data collection and analysis. And then for that, we did interviews. We did a lot of speaking with the how would you call them? The the attendees. And then the quantitative was examining relations between variables. So that was using the data and statistical techniques that they used. I wasn't really a part of that. We had professors that would do that kind of stuff. And then the mixed method is just using both of them to provide a holistic understanding to the questions that we're asking. And through there, we did ceremony. They counted that as research, ceremony. We knew that we couldn't go into too much detail. We knew our boundaries there, and so did they. And so they were very respectful in that manner. Storytelling, reflections, interviews. We held think tanks, which were information sessions. And yeah, I really enjoyed how that they called, the community the experts. That was great. And then observational as well. So even though um we weren't we would when we would hold think tanks, observing communities, we would see a mother on the side and be like, oh well, maybe next time we're gonna put um a coloring book, a table, for the children while the moms could do this, just observing ways that we could help the community when we're also trying to get things done. Um, and being experimental. At the time we did the Elders Mentor Program, and we noticed that we weren't getting a lot of clients coming in, to meet with the elders. So we're like, before I left, we were thinking, okay, well, let's try sessions, let's try a 4-week session of, one topic or things like that. So that's what they do now. And it looks like it's going great. And I'm very excited because they were able to get more community members on board and employed. With this, it's community focused, it's community led. So although we had professors coming in and kind of they do have a breakdown and that they have to follow, they allowed us to go in and indigenize the questions and to be able to still give them the data that they needed, but in a way that our community is comfortable with, our elders were comfortable with, and our clients were comfortable with. And they made it intentional. So making sure that you go in with natural law, with our cultural protocols, we have an intent behind everything. And if you're in it for the right reasons, you're going to get the right information. And they always started everything off with a prayer, whether it be the elder or just one of our professors. So that was really nice to see. And they always wanted to have the Indigenous perspective highlighted. So although they were aware that, for grants and stuff that you have to do, the writing has to be very academic, they knew a way to frame it to be Indigenous. So that was refreshing as well. And then the data, the data collection, they made sure that it was fully us, that, we have access to that anytime. It is our data. We have to ask them, they have to ask us for permission for anything. And it is, you decide if you want to participate or not. It's self-participation. And then they allowed the community, actually, when we held a think tank at one of our events, we had the mothers, we had three things on the wall to be like, what would you like to see in the community? What time would you like to see them? And what are the barriers that this might not work? And so creating those indicators from the community themselves and the attendees. And then the way they collected data was through conversational feedback and then interviews and surveys. So even though it might be simple, it is still a way to collect data, and as well as sharing circles. So if they had a session, they would have a sharing circle after, and then same thing. That is their data. And they created a quote book from one of the seasons that they had of the Elders Mentor Program. And it's so beautiful. Like they would have baby pictures, and then they would have the quotes from the moms of everything that they said and how it helped them. So that was super, super nice as well. And just for my educational journey, my purpose to continue my educational journey is, my biggest motivators are my children. I really wanted to break cycles with them. I just wanted a better future, and I didn't have a horrible child at all, but it was just things that were normalized that shouldn't have been, and just dysfunction. But still love my family. Um, Curiosity, definitely. I love to explore things, especially where I work now. I'm starting to dig deep into the um, political side of things. And so that's kind of where I'm like, hey, I didn't know this, and this is this, and this is that. And so it's nice to be able to explore and then connect things, and more knowledge. The more you look and explore, the more you're going to find, and the more information that you're going to gather and help you along. And and then for me, it was personal accomplishment. Obviously from my life experiences, I wanted to be able to say I got educated. I am definitely knowledgeable and educated in our ceremonial ways, but I also wanted to walk into worlds to be equal on, in academia as well. And then just to have intergenerational healing. Everybody talks about um the trauma that's passed on. But we need to heal, we need to move forward, we need to be positive. And I think that's where the end goal for me on my journey is, just to have a future change, to help my community, and to leave the community better than it was. And that is all.